inside of turn number 7 on the last lap here at Sebring. Oh, big time lockup from Reynolds. Can he get the car slowed down? No! Max Muir to the lead.
Wow, this is some excitement here. You know, and that's what I'm saying, guys. I think Max is not someone that you want up front here in this situation. He's going to drive hard, he's going to drive aggressive, and he's going to go for the win here.
Oh my goodness, and I feel like one of the fastest cars that's been on the racetrack now has clean air. Blake Reynolds definitely kind of got dealt a wild card with that lap traffic just right smack in the middle of the track, not letting them by. And then here we've got the number 11. However, remember, Blake has that top end speed. Can he get the run out of turn 16 here to try to make a pass? And actually, look at this really nice exit. So it's all going to be the serpentine from Muir down the straightaway. Can he stay far enough in front of the 066? Certainly looks like he's got him covered. A late Hail Mary from the 066 gets to the inside. Muir getting loose off the corner exit. It's a drag race. Max Muir going to hang on for the win.
Wow. Max, what a finish there.
Welcome to round 3 of the Roush Performance Esports Pro Series. We've taken a short 1-week break, had some daylight savings time here in the US this past weekend, and now we wake up to find ourselves at one of the most beautiful racetracks in North America, VIR. That's right, we are racing Virginia International Raceway in a ton of brand new ultra-fast prototypes, so you better be ready for some real fast lap times. I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth tonight is Jack Roush Jr. and Trevor Wright if he makes it back from dinner in time. And we also have the man making our broadcast look top-notch here. That is Ryan Bauer, the bearded sim racer himself. And now, the competitors have already completed 2 rounds here. Some points have been compiled, but Jack, this is ultimately the end goal, becoming the series champion and taking home the $2,000 prize.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to say, I don't think there's a good chance Trevor will be making it. I've seen him eat before, and it's not pretty. Tonight we have some amazing prizes for this championship. I'm super excited about it. In first place for the championship, not for the race tonight, but overall, the winner gets $2,000 and a $250 VRS gift certificate. Second place will get a $500 prize. Third, $350. Fourth, $200, and fifth, $100. You know, that's nothing to laugh at. It's the first time we've ever had prizes like that, and man, you can see the excitement out there and just how hard these guys are fighting for the money.
It's been ultra cool to see how competitive everybody is, and this is the track that we are going to be racing here tonight. A classic North American track through the green hills of Virginia on the North Carolina border. It is fast, it requires incredibly high commitment, and when there are wrecks, they tend to be big. 3.27 miles, 17 turns in length. The big passing opportunities that you want to look for here. Turn 1, sometimes going into turn 12, you can get sneaky down there, but off of the back straightaway, turn 14, those are the big opportunities. But really, through the 3, 4, 5 section, it's slow, it's technical. You can definitely slide up the inside there, but my personal favorite part of this racetrack is that 7, 8, 9, 10 complex that is known as the climbing S's, the upper S's, whatever you want to call them. You are flat out in these prototypes using those aerodynamics to suck the car down to the ground. And the other thing about VIR, you better be very familiar with your brake pedal because you stand on it quite a few times around this place. So that's the track we're going to be facing here tonight, and this is the points. Right now, Jordan Johnson actually has a pretty commanding lead, 12 points, but he is yet to take home a main feature win. He's won both sprint races so far, and then had a little bit of trouble towards the end of both of the main races. So is tonight the night that he can put it all together? We're going to see. Blake Reynolds also always up there at the front, sitting there in second place. Max Muir, he won just a couple weeks ago at Sebring. And then we also have Brandon Hawken. Unfortunately, he was our leader going into round number 2 and then did not have the best Sebring round, falls all the way back to 4th place. Alex Ellis is also hanging out inside of the top 5. And then the rest of these names, Christian Youngwall, Cam Bidwell, Ray Kingsbury, Pat Pelchat, Flynn Lazier, they are all scrapping to try to make it inside of the top 5 there. Remember, the top 5 takes home that cold, hard cash at the end of 4 events here. Well, we are going to get to the action on the racetrack right now, Jack. That means qualifying is going on. The drivers have 4 laps, up to 10 minutes to put down their fastest lap time, and I'm not too surprised. The name up on top of the board right now is Max Muir. That's the car, the driver that won just a couple weeks ago at Sebring. Looking at some of these cars now, this is Max Muir in the number 11. Go up through the climbing S's here. We've got about 4 minutes remaining here in qualifying. I know that I believe Max is on his final lap. He's already put down 3 laps. Right now is a 129.79. I was noticing earlier in practice, there was only a couple cars, maybe even 1 car in that 129 bracket. So got quite a few of them out here. And this is Trent McMillian. Jack, does this name ring a bell? Trent's been with us for a long time.
Oh yeah, Trent is definitely one of our regulars through many of our different series that we've run. It's awesome to see him running here as well. And the competition in this Pro Series, man, it's unlike anything we've ever seen in our esports stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. You know, and for this track, I don't know what you think, Joey, but I think this is arguably one of the toughest road racing tracks out there. You have tons of elevation. You know, I think one of the challenges here is also that, well, I guess part of it really is with the elevation. You know, there's a lot of optical illusions in where you are, or nebulous landmarks. You really got to know the lines of this place and, you know, really understand the topography. And in a sim, I think it's even harder than in real life because you can't really see in 3D like you can, you know, driving on the course. Do you agree with that, Joey?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm looking at my Post-it note right here in front of me, and my notes for VIR, I've got fast, flowing, and then number 3, elevation, right there, exactly what you were talking about. And that also leads into the S's, right? Because the S's are up through that elevation change. And as we ride on board with Alex Ellis right here, let's look at the elevation. This is just down the back straightaway. You have a little bit of a dip right here, but then look at this compression going into turn 14. I told you, you got to be familiar, you got to be friendly with that brake pedal. Look at how deep you drive it into these brake zones. And Jack, you know, turn 1, turn 14, Oak Tree, you stand on that brake pedal because you are hauling the mail into those corners. This is a fast place.
Oh yeah, over the elevation changes, you are frigging flying. And by the way, my first road racing event in a car, in IMSA was here. I did very little, up to that point, did very little sports car stuff. I grew up karting and was pretty good at that. But my first race was here in the night, in the rain, up against some of the best talent in the world. And man, was that learning curve tough. You know, not just for the competition, but this track itself.
I love this racetrack. You know, I had posted about it to all the competitors that this is one of my all-time favorite racetracks in North America. There's just something about this place that it's so much fun to drive. It's so freaking fast, like you were saying, and then just every single corner comes at you, but it's not necessarily feeding into you one after another. You do have a little bit of a time to brake between sectors out here, just like the back straightaway, but just every single corner is fun to drive. You have to attack the track. And actually, if we follow through Alex Ellis's last couple corners here, one of my favorite parts of the racetrack is the final couple corners, hog pen. So you go through 14 and 15. Oh, he's a little bit wide right here. See if he actually completes this lap. But these last two corners right here, turns 16 to the left and turns 17, 17A. This is hog pen right here. It is so much fun because you come in with such a high commitment level on that speed, and then you really allow that compression to catch the car as it grips up at the bottom of the hill there. And that's actually going to end qualifying. Something we didn't notice, but Jordan Johnson snuck his way in there, so we'll get the official grid, including that number 112 car. That is your pole sitter, Jordan Johnson, your points winner. The winner of the first two sprint races is on pole once again. A 129.679 is what he did there. Max Muir going to be lined up alongside of him in the second place. Brandon Hawken is going to be joined alongside with Pat Pelchet on row number 2. And then we got Blake Reynolds in 5th. Christian Youngwall starting out 6th. Alex Ellis, who we're riding on board with, will start in 7th, with Cody Crosgrove next to him in 8th. Then we have Cam Bidwell in 9th and Lance Loomis in 10th, Jack.
And in 11th, we have Mylan Harris. In 12th, Nikhil Kopar. In 13th, Jeff Evans. 14th, Colin Arnold. Man, that's a familiar name. In 15th, John Marjabanks. 16th, Ray Kingsbury. 17th, Caleb Patry. In 18th, Rui Pinto. In 19th, Eddie Layton. In 20th, Robbie Swan. Joey.
Then in 21st, we got the number 100 car of Charles Zia. Michael Johnson is going to be joining us. He's starting in 22nd. Steven Sharik back here in 23rd. Peachy Campos starting 24th. Shout out to Peachy. Always love seeing you out here. Trenton McMillian as well. Always one of our regulars dating back to the OG original event. Starting 25th. Will Chen 26th, and Rolly Filgaris, another one of these guys who's always around, starting back here in 27th. Jack, I gotta say thank you to all of the competitors that show up every single week for us. I think we had 37 cars at Watkins Glen. We had about the same at Sebring. We got a few less, got about 10 less here, about 27 that are taking the flag here at VIR. But I just love to see these big numbers. That's really what makes this event so great.
Oh yeah, even 27 down from the last race, that's still a sizable field. We're going to see a lot of excitement out there. There's no lack of cars, that's for sure.
So the cars themselves, right? You see quite a bit of Acuras out here, but the drivers do have 4 different cars that they can change or choose from, not change around. The Acura, the Cadillac, the BMW, and the Porsche. And one of the things that we did here at the Pro Series, so that way the competitors can't just hop around to whichever car is the fastest for the specific track, is that you have to pick one at the beginning of the season, and that is the car that you are stuck in for the rest of all of the races. If you do want to swap, that's okay. We'll let you swap. It's just that you're not going to collect any points for your round, and you're not going to be able to participate in qualifying. So it really puts you in a really, really big hole. It kind of lends to learn one of these platforms. And Jack, you know, the more you get to know a chassis, just kind of the more you can kind of push it around each of these corners.
Oh, for sure. You know what? Really, you know, the reason why we wanted to have that rule of just one car for the entire thing is, you know, Joey, there's certain advantages to different cars on different types of tracks. And we really wanted people to commit to one platform and really, you know, face the benefits as well as the challenges with each one of those and make the best decision they can.
This is my favorite part of the racetrack. Jack, I didn't ask you, what is your favorite part of VIR?
Victory Lane.
That is a good one. That is a good one, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many little tricks here. It's really hard to answer that question. You know, each of these turns really is a puzzle. And if you get it right, you know, you get a good run going into the next turn. If you don't, you know, you might screw up an entire straightaway and lose seconds. You know, it's deceptively tough how difficult this track really is. And by the way, it probably is not like this in the sim, but man, in the real world, when you get tires off at this place, it's almost like you speed up. The dirt here is clay, and just a little bit of moisture on that will just send you flying.
As the competitors are warming everything up, what we are going to see here tonight is two different races. What the competitors are lined up right for is 15 minutes. Okay, this is the sprint race, and then everybody has to participate in the 35-minute feature right after this. So we've tested them out in qualifying for the ultimate pace, and now this is really, let's see how fast you can run for about 10 laps here, and then for the feature race, the drivers really have to be on top of their game to show the full stint in that they can manage it over 20 plus laps out there. And it always is a good time with that top 8 grid invert. It really throws a curveball, especially for the drivers up at the front. But we are about to go green flag racing because the pace car is already pulling off onto pit lane. The rule that we've got here is you've got to stay pace car speed until the green flag is thrown, and at VIR, start finish is way down the hill down here. Really got to be patient, and there is the green flag. A beautiful start from all 27 cars in line. It is Jordan Johnson in that black and green car defending to the inside. I believe that might have been Alex Ellis sneaking up through the middle, up into 4th place. But it's Jordan Johnson, Max Muir, and then Brandon Hawken, your top 3 as we feed into turn numbers 4 and 5 for the first time. You got to be careful through here, especially on the cold tires. But once you get through these lower S's, you can finally put your foot down, use that aerodynamic grip, and fly up these upper S's.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that this track has no passing zones, but you really got to be careful in where you make your moves. It's so easy to get contact. You got to hand it to these guys. That first few turn sequences, I didn't see any contact. That's not an easy achievement.
I don't see, I'm knocking on wood over here, folks, but I don't see any cars around here on the first lap of the sprint race, and we're going down the back straightaway. I'm seeing 189 miles an hour is what these GTP cars are doing up into turn 14. And I tell you what, Max Muir has showed up today. He won at Sebring. He is all over the back of Jordan Johnson. And if you guys haven't seen the previous 2 events, well, Jordan really ran away in the sprint race, especially at Watkins Glen and also at Sebring. And now it seems like Max is right on the rear wing. He's got some competition. Also, Brandon Hawken in that number 99 car, after having not such a great round number 2, he has definitely recovered, sitting in 3rd place right now, but getting the pressure from Alex Ellis as these top 2, they're trying to run away, and especially here in the sprint, if you can kind of break that 1 second barrier, Jack, 1 second is kind of where the draft is in iRacing. If you can be in front of that, it kind of gives that stiff arm length.
Oh, yeah. The draft here, man, where is that? In the upper, in the back S's and on the back straight, on the front straight. It's kind of all over the place.
With how fast this place is, you can really get going. And actually, I would love to see next lap if we can get a speedometer on one of these leaders up through the upper S's to really show everybody how fast everything is going. I think I heard over 180 miles an hour going up through the S's that last time. So these cars, the GTP cars, they have incredibly aggressive aerodynamic packages. They got huge tires, huge brakes, hybrid power systems to really propel them to speeds capable of over 200 miles an hour. It's just up to the track and how fast the track allows them to go. And I still can't believe just the overall lap times that these cars are doing around this place. Jack, I don't know if you noticed, but this time a 130.7 from the leaders as they go by. That is hauling.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. The sports car stuff that we did, Joey, it was a little bit different. We were not going that fast, but
what are you talking about? Yeah, we were totally.
But we were floating a lot more. I think we probably had a lot more scary moments than these cars, but I guess that's for another time.
I didn't mean to jump into you there, but yeah, we totally were doing 200. That's the number one question you get asked is, how fast do you go? Oh, 200. Oh, wow, that's really fast out there. But no, you're right. These cars are so much more capable than, you know, GT4s and GT3s out here. And I think it's pretty wild to just even watch the steering wheel, how fast these drivers have to react going up through the S's. It's pretty crazy. You got to be on top of your reactions. You got to be way ahead of the track, and it is not slow. I think I heard 186 into turn 1. Let's see, into turn 14, 190 miles an hour. So let's ride on board here with Max Muir as he sits in the slipstream. Let's see how fast we get going into turn number 1 on the front straight, because he's applying all sorts of pressure to Jordan Johnson right now. Already 140 on exit. Let's see what we get up to by start finish line. 175 by start finish. By the brake marker, oh, just a casual 184 miles an hour. Man, this place is fast.
Oh yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, Joey.
And this is the slowest section, right? We just went through quote-unquote NASCAR turn 3. Here's 4, 5, and 6, and I'm loving these cars using up all the curbs because you have to through that section. You really got to straighten out these S's as much as you can if you want to try to have the run up through the upper S's now. And watching out the back of our leader, Max Muir has not let go one bit whatsoever. Jordan Johnson is actually having to work with this one. It is not what we've seen out of the previous 2 races.
You kind of wonder, you know, is Max holding back? Is he trying to wait closer to the end to make a move? Or is he just trying to hold on and trying to be there? You know, I can't really say without, you know, seeing Max's data. It could be either way. You know, it could be the case that, you know, Max is trying to stay there, but, you know, if they're very close in time and if he's not able to use the draft to pop by, you know, that could be an issue. I think Max might be kind of just trying to click off laps, wait till the end, and then make a move closer, you know, like the last few laps, trying to steal Johnson's ability to fight back and possibly get a pass back.
I agree with you, and I think he's just trying to take out little chips, right? Half a tenth there, half a tenth here, and I think that's kind of what you have to do when you get up to the pointy end. You can't just take a big swing and make a lunge and expect for everything to kind of work out. And we're riding on board with the 919. This is Pat Pelchet as he gets loose going through turn 3, the turn known as NASCAR. That's a tricky one where you really have to trail your brake going all the way into it, and can cause quite a bit of moments as we saw Pat just kind of lose control of the car right there and then has to fall all the way back. And this is one of the rumbly boys out here. We got a lot of Acuras, but this one is the Cadillac. This is one of the V8 prototypes. So if it sounds a little bit different, well, that's why. It's a big old rumbly boy V8. Ooh, look at the stuff going on right in front of Milan Harris. Oh, we got more action. That's through Oak Tree right there. I believe that might have been Cody Crosgrove. Spun around at the apex. Oh no, he is gonna have to get back going, but loses a ton of track position. I see Nikhil Kopkar right on the back of Colin Arnold making a move, and this is what happened. So this is the number 18 of Cody Crosgrove. Oh, just a little bit too hot. Got into the back of one of the competitors right there, spun him around, and what I was saying is Nikhil Kopkar in that number 23 made a pass on Colin Arnold going into turn number 14 off of the back straightaway there. So a little bit of a stack up for the top 10 as this battle still rages on. And oh, actually Jordan missed the apex just a little bit there through 3.
Yeah, when you look at this track and see the challenges that these guys are, you know, facing, you know, fighting against, I don't, this is an opinion, but you know, I think that really shows what a world-class track this is. You know, again, just my own perception of it, but when I think about different types of racetracks, when you look at a club track, no disrespect to, you know, your local club tracks, but this has so many challenges in the shape of the course. It's so easy to shoot, you know, little too hard into a turn or a little too light and lose speed, you know, you really have to just nail it, you know, thread the needle and make it through. You know, this track is not forgiving. You know, there's big consequences to making mistakes here.
Huge consequences. I mean, we were riding on board with Pat Pelchat when he went off in turn 3, and turn 3 is one of the slower corners on the racetrack. And we're riding on board with Robbie Swan. He's looking to the inside of Eddie Layton. Doesn't make the move going into 14, but back to the point is that no matter where you are on this VIR track, if you put your wheels off, you're going to be going for a ride. Just like how Jack was mentioned earlier, it's definitely got the clay, kind of like Atlanta. If you guys have ever been to Road Atlanta, they've got that red Georgia clay. Well, it's very similar up here at VIR, and actually we can talk about it now since iRacing does have the rain system out. Jack, I know that you've probably driven around VIR and probably 150% humidity because that's what it is standard out there. But have you ever been around the place in the rain?
Oh yeah,
we did in 2019, right in the GT4 car too, mixed weather conditions.
Yep. Yeah, my first ever race here was at night in the rain, and man, that was super intense.
And you know that if you put a wheel off anywhere and it is raining, you're not stopping before you hit that tire wall. It just, like you were saying earlier before we got going, it's almost like the car kind of accelerates when it gets to it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an ice rink out there, and you know, even oil on the track can be really dicey here for that same reason.
So if you've noticed, Max has been all up underneath the rear wing of Jordan, and it just kind of succumbs right there once again out of hog pen, just loses a little bit of time, so kind of has to stick in the draft, stick in the slipstream. But I really do feel like Muir is doing such a fantastic job. He's not like poking the nose anywhere that he shouldn't. He's just slowly but surely getting closer and closer and closer. And eventually, he will get close enough to make a move. It's just, when is that opportunity going to come? And here it is, down the inside of turn number 5. A little bit of side pod banging, but Jordan Johnson hangs on to it. I mentioned that technical area of the racetrack is one that you can really kind of slide the car up the inside, but well defended from the number 112. And really, he left enough space for Max. But Jack, check this out. He's right on the back again.
Oh yeah, and I think what Max was trying to do, you know, even outside of passing, was just to get Johnson to look back, to feel the pressure, you know, hopefully for Max's sake, try to make a mistake. And, you know, I mean, Joey, you know, that's what you do. You don't let people just be comfortable and pick their line. You want to pick them apart.
100%, and sometimes you just have to put the car in a place in the mirror where they're not expecting it, right? Just add that little bit of variable into the race, and maybe it might knock them off the game just a touch. But right now, Jordan Johnson doing an excellent job maintaining the lead. I do see a slower car that is just in front of these guys, so hopefully they get out of the way. That's Steven Sharik up there in the number 83. So, oh, and he actually spins to the outside of turn 1. He's not going to be an issue. The leaders are going to go by, and he does a great job of not just driving right back onto the racetrack in a perpendicular fashion. Nice job there, Steven. Not getting in the way of everybody as kind of the race goes on. And I'm a blabbermouth over here, Jack. I keep on talking. We got 2.5 minutes remaining. 10 laps is what these cars are doing in the sprint race.
Oh yeah, if Max is going to make another move here and make a pass, he's got to do it quick. There's not much left.
This is on board the number 66 car of Lance Loomis, and if you notice in front, he's right in the back of a very long train, directly in front of him, Milan Harris. Directly in front of Milan is Colin Arnold. Then we got Ray Kingsbury, Nikhil Kopkar, and then finally John Marshbanks up there in the 9th place. So all of these drivers just kind of sitting in that arrow wake, trying to get the benefit of the tow. And sometimes that's not as easy as we talk about over here with VIR being so fast. You do have to deal with the dirty air off of these cars too.
Absolutely. You know, you get the benefit of less drag going into, you know, someone's draft, but at the same time you can lose front grip, you know, or you can potentially take away rear grip from them. You know, it's all, you know, it's just something you need to play with to see how that plays out.
Barney threw out the white flag right there, so we have 1 lap remaining here at the sprint race. It has been Jordan Johnson who is your pole sitter. He has led the entire way, but Max Muir just a couple laps ago threw one up the inside of this corner right here, turn number 5. Got up alongside Jordan, but couldn't get the pass done. So now it really just comes down to probably one more opportunity. If you don't get it done here in the oak tree, you gotta wait down the back straightaway. And it's so tough to get the run out of turn 10 right here with it being so fast, 155 miles an hour through turn number 10. So let's watch the exit as Max closes it in a little bit there, but Jordan does what he needs to. He nailed that exit.
Oh yeah, I think both of these guys, you know, it really shows the level of talent and skill with both of them. For Johnson, you know, he's mentally, you know, shows great mental strength against the threat behind him. And Max, you know, he's just hanging right there, looking for a mistake, putting the pressure on. You know, it's really great to see this. And by the way, in this next race, we're going to see the order flip. So, you know, will that change the outcome? I guess you'll have to wait and see.
Well, the checkered flag goes to Jordan Johnson for the first race of the night. So he makes it 3 for 3 in terms of the sprint race victories. Max Muir did cross the line in second. Brandon Hawken will round out your podium as we watch some of these battles a little bit further back in the pack coming to a close. This is Robbie Swan still chasing Eddie Layton for the 14th place position. Looks like Eddie is going to hang on to that one for now. Also see Milan Harris chasing Charles Zia right behind him. And these are 2 teammates. I believe these are the Rockefeller Racing cars, looking really good out there, crossing nose to tail. And watch the rest of these cars come across the start-finish line. This is the end of the first race, but we still have a lot of racing more to go. We'll get your official results up here on the screen once everybody has crossed the line. And Barney said it is A-okay, but I can tell you it was the number 112 of Jordan Johnson. Your pole sitter led every single lap, claims the first win. Max Muir, wow, it was the first time we've seen someone go up there and legitimately challenge Jordan in terms of the overall pace. Brandon Hawken finishes out your podium there in third. Alex Ellis in fourth. Blake Reynolds rounds out the top 5 here. We didn't talk about Blake too much. Maybe he'll show up in the main feature. Christian Youngwall in 6th. Cam Bidwell 7th. Pat Pelchat 8th. John Marshbanks in 9th. And Ray Kingsbury in 10th.
In 11th, Colin Arnold. In 12th, Lance Loomis. In 13th, Nikhil Kapkar. In 14th, Eddie Layton. 15th, Robbie Swan. 16th, Charles Hosea. 17th, Milan Harris. 18th, Michael Johnson. 19th, Ruin Pinto. And 20th, Cody Crossgrove.
Then across the page, we've got Will Chen here in 21st. Peachy Campos, 22nd. Jeff Evans in 23rd. Trent McMillian was the last car to finish on the lead lap. And then Steven Sharik, 1 lap down. Caleb Patry, 1 lap down as well. And then Rolly Filgaris evidently might have had some problems a little bit earlier in the race. Finishes 8 laps down. But I do want to give a very important shout out to all of our partners involved with Roush Performance Esports, including RFK Racing. Now, I know that you guys know about RFK Racing. If you haven't, just go turn on a NASCAR broadcast and really go follow along with team owner and driver, the number 6 car of Brad Keselowski, as well as Chris Buescher in the number 17. And I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but on Sunday, they both just finished inside of the top 5 at Phoenix. Chris with the 2nd place and Brad with the 4th. I know it was a huge way to kind of end that West Coast swing for RFK Racing, really build the momentum at the beginning of the season. I believe that's a few top 10s now for Chris Buescher in that number 17 car. Also, VRS. VRS is a premium sim racing hardware manufacturer supporting many of the top teams and leagues worldwide. Experience the with our hardware, software, telemetry, setups, and training. Podium Esports. Podium Esports LLC is a talent farm for highly motivated individuals looking for a career in motorsports broadcasting. Podium's mission is and always has been to attract, train, and employ talent in motorsports broadcasting, production, graphic design, journalism, and social media marketing. Podium brings the excitement of competitive gaming to motorsports enthusiasts around the world. And probably the biggest and most important one, ROUSH Performance. We couldn't do anything without ROUSH Performance. All of the fans that follow us along, all of the members that show up to all of the events, everything with ROUSH Performance. If you want to go check out more, go to roushperformance.com. They've got a ton of new truck parts as well. And there's also, I believe, the lifestyle tab that they have just added. So if you're interested in going and meeting up with some of the crew, going to some of the events, make sure to go check out that website, roushperformance.com. Jack, let's bring you back in here because we've got just a very, very quick break between when we start the next race here, and just want to get your opinion. What did you think of VIR, or I should say the virtual VIR with the GTPs on it?
Man, that was some awesome racing, from the front to the back. Very little contact, but still, super aggressive, competitive challenges between the cars. I thought it was fantastic.
So we shift into the 35-minute main race now, and it's kind of a little bit of a focus change, right? You had to go all out in qualifying, and then in the sprint race, it's all about just running away, running as fast as you can. And now we go into this 35-minute race, and it's really mainly meant to test the driver from lap 1 all the way to, I think it's going to be about 23 laps is what they're going to do here in 35 minutes. So you got to keep the consistency from when the car is full up on fuel, which the drivers haven't had yet at all this event, all the way till it's very, very empty. And that consistency, once you get past lap 10, once you get past lap 15, it really starts to become a mental game at that point too.
Oh, absolutely. I think, starting the race here, you pretty much nailed exactly all the things I was thinking about. That gas is really gonna, change the balance of the car. They do have to be very careful and not drive just like they finished the last sprint race. They need to survive, pick a good pace, but also stay up near the front. And then as we see this close, I would approach this is you need to get more and more aggressive, especially, the last 5 laps. This track makes it really hard to pass. We saw that in the first race between first and second. It's gonna be very interesting to see. Whoever wins this is definitely gonna have to earn it.
So since we've got a full pace lap around here, we do have another minute. And if you guys haven't watched any of the pro racing events before tonight, I want to let you know that Jordan Johnson has not won a main feature race yet. And Jack, if we remember a couple weeks ago at Sebring, 2 laps to go, he was kind of pushed out of the way a little bit by Muir going into turn 3 at Sebring. And if we go back a few weeks ago at Watkins Glen, he was kind of involved in a skirmish going into the inner loop there on one of the final laps with Blake Reynolds. And you gotta wonder, do you think it's gonna be kind of deja vu again here at VIR, or is maybe the luck gonna change for that 112?
That's really hard to say. I think we're gonna be surprised either way.
That is for sure, and we're gonna have to watch Jordan go all the way through the field as well with that top 8 grid invert. Remember, if you won that sprint race, you gotta start all the way back in 8th place back there. If you finished in 8th, well, it is your lucky day because your name is Pat Pelchat and you were driving the 919. You get boosted straight up to that pole position. You got El Tigre joining him on the front row. That is Cam Bidwell in the number 56. Both of these drivers, including Christian Youngwall there in 3rd, they are trying to elevate themselves into that cash payout of that top 5 championship place efforts. Blake Reynolds is going to start 4th, Alex Ellis in 5th, Brandon Hawken in 6th, Max Muir in 7th, Jordan Johnson in 8th. So that is your top 8 grid invert. The rest of the names that you see on the screen here, we'll scroll through them, but there has been no change whatsoever between the results of the sprint and where they start here in the main feature. It is only those top 8 positions that have changed, and oh boy, this is a little bit of a different mindset now, and going to be interesting. I think that Jordan has done such a good job to keep a level head and stay clean throughout the first 2 rounds, especially make his way forward throughout this kind of chaos of the first couple laps. But Jack, we've been watching VIR now for about half hour or so. The one big difference between here, Watkins Glen, and Sebring, the other 2 tracks that they've already raced, this place is narrow.
Oh yeah, it sure is. Not again, you know, this is a very tough track to pass at. You know, I would say, you know, if you can hit the oak tree just perfectly, that back straight can be a good place to pass. The front straight can be, but man, it is difficult. The S's are pretty much impossible.
I think one of the big things that I'm going to be looking out for as we get these awesome shots. By the way, this is one of the cool things about virtual racing, is that if you come out and race with us, Ryan Bauer, he does such a good job with the production out here. You can log in via your webcam. We provide all the competitors a link. So if we want to come in and check in on you, we can provide everybody these awesome shots from inside of the sim room. I see Jordan Johnson, I see John Marshbanks, I see Trent McMillan, I see Alex Ellis, and what is the last one over there, Ryan? He's kind of doing the best Bane impression in the dark right now. That is Ray Kingsbury, born in the dark out there, doing his best Bane. But we've got the cars on the back straightaway. Jack, any final thoughts before we go green?
No, I mean, we can't really anticipate how this is going to go. You know, I've tried to do that for years in racing, and it never works out like you think it will.
Well, let's just see if everybody keeps it tidy for the start. Now, we do have race control watching over, and we do review all of these lap 1 incidents now, really trying to not only display how many GTP cars and prototypes we can get out here to make this clean racing, but the other thing we want is we want clean racing here at the ROUSH Performance Esports Pro Series. So nice and slow here for the start. This is the start procedure. You got to wait until that green flag is thrown. Pat Pelchat right in the middle of the road. Cam Bidwell actually way off to the left side. He's going to get taken advantage of if he doesn't block the middle, which he does now pretty late. He's going to force him 4 wide to the inside of him. He's going to get hung out to dry as we see the 2 red and blue cars. That's Max Muir and Alex Ellis really sneaking their way up through the inside, and they've made huge moves on the inside of turns number 1 and 2, and now one of them goes off. I believe that is Alex Ellis off in turn number 3. That is no good for him, but everybody else continues on. 2 wide through 4 and 5, a little bit further back, but it is Pat Pelchat trying to run away.
Yeah, you really do not want to give up the inside of turn 1, and man, that was a really brilliant move there.
Look at all of these GTPs scream up the upper S's for the first time, all the way down through turns number 10 and now through Oak Tree. Down there, unfortunately, we don't have the Oak Tree anymore. We got that green scissor lift back there behind the wall, but not quite as pretty, but you can still get a good camera shot from there. And down the back straightaway, I'm impressed. This number 11 car, this is Max Muir chasing the 199 of Christian Youngwall. He just flew up the inside of turn number 1 on that start. I mentioned that Cam Bidwell was kind of out of place. He was just kind of out on the left side of the racetrack and then made a late move to the middle and just really forced everybody down the inside. And I tell you what, Max was in the right place at the right time. Jordan Johnson, however, you look at where he's at, he's still in 8th place right now. He's chasing Cam Bidwell, who started in the front row. He's going to make a move down to the inside. That'll be a nice textbook pass, and actually one of the cars right in front of Jordan had a lockup. that was Brandon Hawkins, so he's going to try to defend from this 112 car.
So just a little bit of history for anyone out here who isn't familiar with Oak Tree. That's pretty much the defining turn and feature of the track. As you can see, we talked about Oak Tree, but there was no tree there. It's really unfortunate. Believe it or not, a car didn't take out Oak Tree. Some lightning did one year, you know. But, you know, in times, or I remember one of the times that our team won there, we got rings with an Oak Tree on it, and it really is a signature for the track. It is unfortunate it's not there. It was literally right at the apex of the turn onto the back straight too.
It was probably the most iconic feature of VIR when you look at the defining features of the racetrack. Everybody knew about Oak Tree. You're right. So, yeah, very unfortunate when it fell, and actually, had a car off, a damaged car that's way off the pace out here. That's Peachy Campos. Yeah, keep it off the racetrack. Thank you, Peachy. Get it back into pit lane out here as the cars come in complete lap number 2. I think the biggest story of the race is, can anybody stop Max Muir and the charge that he's got going on right now? He's already up into second place, so he's gotten around Christian Youngwall. All he's got to do is go chase down the 919. I think the other one to keep an eye on probably, Jack, this is the name that we really didn't mention at all during the sprint race, but it's Blake Reynolds. Right now he's hanging out in the 4th place, right on the back of Christian Youngwall. And really, if you're trying to take home kind of the points haul, you gotta score good in these main feature races. That's what Blake Reynolds has done all season long.
Yeah, and when you think of, you know, why we do this position flip for the second race, it's exactly for this. You know, it really makes tight racing. It makes the competitors really have to fight for it. You know, the guys who finished up front in the sprint race, you know, we don't just give it to them. They got to claw their way back through some really tough competition.
And actually, here he goes. Pat Pelchat didn't have anything for him on the back straightaway, just simply could wave as Max Muir drove right on by. So now Max doesn't have anything but clear air in front of him. He's just got to keep his head on his shoulders out here. He knows he's got one of the fastest race cars. Jordan Johnson is just coming out of Hogpen right now. He's still all the way back in the 6th place. So I'm trying to add up the time. I'm seeing, oh my goodness, it could be in upwards of about 4.5 seconds right now that Max Muir has over this 112 car. And not only does Jordan have to claw back that 4.5 seconds, but he's got to pass cars while doing that. Catching and passing, two totally different things.
Yeah, I think Max, knock on wood for him, I'm not trying to play favorites, but I think he may have this one in the bag. You know, it hasn't even been 5 minutes and he already got up to the front and he's pulling out. He's got to keep it clean, you know, not make any mistakes, don't go off the track, but I don't know, I think he has this one.
I will say this when it comes to this number 112 car of Jordan Johnson is that he does have a little bit of a points buffer. Coming in today, he had about 12 points, and now that also grew by winning that sprint race, so he's got over 12 points there. He should have about 15 points over Max Muir going into this one. So I guess he can kind of afford to be a little bit more cautious, but you know, if you're cautious, you're never going to move forward, and that's why he's poking the nose down of inside John Marshbanks. He's got Brandon Hawkins breathing right down his neck, and I think that was John saying, yep, I see him. I need to stay on my line here. I need to keep up on it because I got two real hungry drivers right behind me. See if he pokes a nose down. Oh, here comes a look down into turn number 1. I think that just goes to show you how comfortable Jordan really is with these GTP cars and kind of put the car on the racetrack wherever he wants to, and is applying all sorts of pressure to that number 30. But John Marshbanks really quite doing a terrific job. And Jack, maybe you can kind of talk about this. It's not the easiest to perform when somebody is literally breathing down your neck and trying to go too wide into the S's.
Yeah, it sure is, especially at this track. You know, and that's one advantage and disadvantage of having mirrors in a race car, you know, as opposed to a go-kart. I always like to know where people are, but you have to balance that and not, you know, lose track of where where you are and what you're doing, just when you're watching the other people. Like we've mentioned before in some of our other broadcasts, at least, you know, for me, I find racing in the sim a little bit more difficult with that, you know, trying to track your competition and figure out where you are on the track, because you don't really have the sense of inertia that you do in real life, where, you know, in a real car you can feel the car, you know, turning, you know, slowing down, rocking, you know, whatever way. In the sim, you unless you have a rig that moves, and even then it's probably not super accurate, you're dependent on your eyes for all of that. So if you look up in the mirror to see where that car is for an instant, you lose all of that.
And to talk about visual references around VIR here, I think that John Marshbanks right here has got a big visual of a train of cars forming behind him. So he doesn't just have Jordan, he doesn't just have Brandon right behind it. I wonder, is Jordan going to make a move going into turn 10? Oh, it's just too wide. Oh no, we got problems with Blake Reynolds. Oh no, was this Peachy Campos again taking him? Oh no, I feel so bad for Blake Reynolds and the netcode contact. Oh my goodness, just sometimes when it rains, it pours on the racetrack, and I just feel real bad for that number 066 who's in the middle of a points championship, trying to take home some money throughout this, and just having a slow car 2 weeks in a row really deal him a curveball. Unfortunate out there for Blake Reynolds. Definitely feel for him, but we're going to keep our eyes right here on Jordan Johnson trying to get by Mr. Marshbanks, and there is Peachy Campos right there, still on the inside of the track.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, you know, dealing with slower traffic, and, you know, for the slower traffic also to figure out where the faster drivers are. There's definitely an art to it. Man, one of the toughest things I think there is to deal with racing too, where it makes it all the worst, oh wow, is, you know, where you have multiple classes of different speeds.
Yeah, and there you were calling it. Look at this action between Marshbanks and Brandon Hawken. They were all just trying to sneak up the inside. We were 3 wide at turn 5 at one point there. That is something you don't see very often. And I do have to say, unfortunately, Brandon Hawken, I think, lost out in terms of track position. He did live through it, but he lost quite a few positions. It's definitely not what he wants in terms of that points battle. So he's right on the back of Cam Bidwell, who's sitting in 7th. He's going to look down to the inside now, try to use the draft off of Ray Kingsbury right in front of him. So looks like Brandon Hawken will at least get one of these spots back, but he fell 3, go back up 1, so you still got a couple more to go.
Yeah, those first few turns are very, very difficult to pull off a pass on. Man, you really got to have your nose in there and make sure that the car you're passing knows you're there. I think that's what we ran into.
Now we're looking, Brandon's going to look to the inside of Ray Kingsbury, but Ray closed the door real late there in turn number 1. Little bit of an ambitious move from the number 99, and Ray said, no, not at all this time. And things are a little spread out for the top 5, but looking at this group right here, I mean, we've got about 5 cars lined up, and then we've got another 4 cars lined up. And Jack, you were kind of touching on this, this is usually what that top 8 grid invert provides, is that some of these faster cars are kind of forced more in the middle of the pack. And some of the cars that are very fast on lap time, well, now they've got the advantage of the track position, and it really becomes a battle between everybody.
Oh yeah, it sure does. It's like shuffling cards and trying to figure out, you know, what the high cards are. It's chaotic, and man, it makes for some great racing.
I think that's actually a really good parallel, is shuffling the cards out there, is just kind of reorganizing the deck. We know who's the fastest, but now you're going to have to prove it to us, right? You're going to have to stand out of that deck of cards in order to get through. And this is one of these drivers that fell back early on. So this is Alex Ellis. Remember, he was up inside of the top 5 in that sprint race, but had the problem in turn 3 on the opening lap, fell all the way back to 19th. And, you know, Jack, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you've noticed, Alex Ellis on the straightaways, he gives that aerodynamic lean like he's trying to gain some mile an hour on the top end.
Yeah, it makes me think he might be a go-karter.
So, something interesting about Alex, I know that he's been working quite a bit with Muradness, and oh, nice move up the inside of turn number 3 there, snuck up the inside of Lance Loomis, took him by surprise. But Alex is one of these drivers that is really trying to make a go at it in the real world. He's taken all of this sim knowledge and has actually gotten a few opportunities to go out there and drive some actual race cars. So this is kind of another one of those sim to reality stories, Jack.
Yeah, that's a very cool story for sure. You know, I think that there's tons of parallels with sims, especially quality sims like iRacing. You know, it really is fantastic training for the real world. I've said this before, but you know, personally, I think it's been critical for my development in driving sports cars. As far as the dynamics of the cars, learning the tracks, it's absolutely fantastic. And then also, you know, different elements of racecraft, you know, and getting, not just doing laps, but, you know, learning how to battle people and be strong mentally, how to, you know, tear people apart mentally and, you know, ultimately succeed.
Well, while these cars are running around VIR, let's try to scroll through the field, shall we? I try to get everybody some screen time here as Alex continues to work his way up through that yellow car right there. Well, that's Nikhil Kopkar. Look at him. He is defending hard through turn number 3. He says, you know what? I'm not just going to lay down for this one. So evidently, Nikhil showing up to race here. I know that he was at Watkins Glen. Things didn't quite work out his way there, but maybe a little bit more comfortable here in the Acura at VIR. You see John Marshbanks all over Ray Kingsbury directly in front. You know, we've shown a lot of these top 10 cars as they work their way, I shouldn't say work their way, I should say bounced their way over through turn number 10 there. We made the comment, Lance Loomis, I believe, in the number 66 was just gotten by Alex Ellis. Then we got Colin Arnold there in the number 72, right behind Lance in this nice blue Acura. Colin's part of that train. Cam Bidwell, who started way up front there, the number 56. He's kind of this candy apple red and black machine. Unfortunately, he's fallen all the way back to 12th here, and ooh, has a big old twitch coming down through turn number 15 there. Thankfully, kept it on the racetrack, and this brings up the number 998. Jack, what would you call this? Would you call this kind of the auto camouflage? Or no, I guess it's not quite auto camo. What is this, about bronze-ish? Gold.
That's what it looks like on my screen. Yeah, sharp livery there.
In comes Milan Harris back here, the number 96. I believe Milan is in one of these. Oh, and this is Alex still battling it out with Nikhil. This time, Alex finally moves up to 8th place, so he finally gets around Mr. Kopkar out there. Is working his way forward into some important points that he desperately needs after that little bit of an early mistake there, riding on board with one of the different sounding cars. This is that Porsche of Colin Arnold as he tries to kind of capitalize on some of these positions in this big old draft train. I was going to point out number 96 back here of Milan Harris. He's one of the Cadillacs in that Rockefeller Racing scheme. One of these white and black cars. I remember there was another one out there. I apologize for not remembering the name of it. But then we got the 37 of Robbie Swan back here. And you know, Jack, this doesn't have all of the colors, but you remember your old World Challenge car when you really had all of the colors kind of spray painted throughout it? This baby blue with the white wheels, it kind of reminds me a little bit of it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, definitely a brighter look to this one. Yeah, it's sharp.
Another one of those Penguin Racing RC cars, and then comes that other Rockefeller Racing car. So this is that number 100 of Charles Zia back here, another one of those Cadillacs in that classic white and blue scheme that they've got going on. Behind Charles, we've got Eddie Layton, this black and blue Cadillac right behind him. Another classically themed car, and Eddie had a little bit more speed at Sebring. He was really hauling the mail out there. Unfortunately, didn't have the best track position. And here he's kind of running around the 15th place area, down a couple from where he started. But he's got Rui Pinto right behind him, as things are still very busy up here in kind of the Nikhil Cope car range. It looks like Nikhil is, that yellow car has gotten by John Marshbank. So I think John, who started on pole position, has done a terrific job to kind of hang on to that track position, but has been taken advantage of by some of these faster cars. And now it's going to be a braking duel into 14, still side by side. And now he's going to have the inside going down into 15 and 16. Nikhil going to hang tough around the outside edges him out through Hogpen. But Jack, a move is coming into turn 1.
Oh yeah, that's why the yellow car got to the inside. You know, I think he's probably got it defended here. You know, at the beginning of the back straight, he did have a little bit of a got a little bit loose, which I think hurt his run and ultimately put him in danger there. Man, this is some intense racing. Man, I don't even know what to say about this.
Well, and Nikhil, look at how close these stack-ups are getting. I can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all lined up, splitter to gearbox out there. And it's Nikhil Cope car now that's going to try to run away in the yellow car. John Marshbanks now has to fend off Colin Arnold. Colin's been around with us for a very long time. His father, Zach, one of my favorite team members that I have ever gotten the pleasure to work with on the real race world side of things, and still heavily involved with racing. And in fact, I know that Colin and Zach do quite a bit of racing together as kind of a father-son pairing. It kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of like, Jack Roush Jr. and JP Roush.
Yep, yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, it was awesome to have Zach on our team for all those years, and really great to see him and his son enjoying racing together now too.
Well, I can report to you that Nikhil Kopkar and John Marshbanks have opted to turn the GTPs into some Pro 2 cars over roller coaster that last lap time. I think that Nikhil probably has the pace, but he keeps blowing the brake zone. Ooh, nice move up the inside from Jordan Johnson on Christian Youngwall. So slide that number 112 up into third. Now he has a long ways to go. I can tell you 10.5 seconds up to Pat Pelchat up there in second. So Jordan kind of has his work cut out for him. I think really, Jack, we're going to be watching this part of the field. This is that mid group that we've been watching all race long, from about 8th all the way back to 12th. It includes Colin Arnold, Juan Harris, Cam Bidwell, Caleb Patry, Lance Loomis, and John Marshbanks, who's now going to try to catch up to the rest of them.
Yeah, you know, I thought Max was going to pull out and just stay out in the front and not be in danger. I don't know if he's just taking a little bit easy. I wouldn't say he's losing a lot of ground. It's going back and forth. But Pelchat and Johnson, I don't know, we still got 13 minutes left, and they're driving super hard. They're not taking it easy, just trying to survive out there. They're trying to make moves and catch up. I think we got a race here.
We definitely have a race on our hands, and Alex Ellis all over the back of Ray Kingsbury. Got the speed lean going on into turn number 1. Go late on the brakes. Still side by side. Kingsbury's going to hang tough on the outside, which is going to provide him the inside to turn number 3 here. Oh, but Ellis, even the momentum around 3. Now he clears Kingsbury. That was a great move by the number 5. Just hung to his racing line, knew the grip that he had around the outside, was able to take it all the way around the number 25 and move Alex up into the 6th place position. He's got 5.5 seconds to try to go hunt down Brandon Hawkins. So I know this kind of isn't another race that Alex wants. He wants to be further up. I know that he wants to be winning these things, and just unfortunately the off tracks kind of getting in the way of him here in the main feature race. And this is Rui Pinto. Now, I did want to give a shout out to Rui back here. This is his first race with us here in the ROUSH Pro Series. We were at max capacity when we kicked this thing off. We had over, I think it was over 80 people sign up, and it was my worst days having to turn people away. And so thankfully, now that we've had a few kind of people fall by the wayside, we can get some of these drivers in that wanted to come and race all along. And Rui is one of those. He's actually one of our international drivers here, Jack. So not only do we have drivers from North America, but I believe Rui is from Portugal. I'll have to check on it.
Yeah, it's very, very cool to see. Man, there's so much talent, and you know, it comes from all around the world.
And yes, I can say, looks like, yeah, Rui is from Portugal. So one of our international drivers back here. So shout out to Mr. Pinto for coming and joining us. I know that it is kind of the middle of the night over there. So thank you very much for coming out and racing. And this is the battle for what is the 12th place position. It's kind of fallen off just a touch. Lance Loomis currently chasing Mr. Harris in that number 96. I kind of like this battle because Harris in the 96, he's in one of the Cadillacs, and we don't get to see too many of the Cadillacs out here. He's the furthest forward of those V8 cars.
Right, yeah, you know, looking at the results from the sprint race, you know, each car will have an advantage, usually for different types of tracks and that sort of thing. The Acura's really dominated in the sprint race, you know, for whatever reason. We can go back and try to evaluate that, but it's interesting to watch for sure.
This is coming up over the turn 14 section known as Roller Coaster, then down into 16 and 17 here known as Hog Pen. So, Jack, I have to ask you, this might resonate with some of our viewers out here in the Mid-Atlantic area if they've ever been to Hyperfest. Now, at Hyperfest in that roller coaster section, all the way down to Hogpen, they actually do big wheel races. Have you ever participated in a big wheel race at VIR yet?
I have not. That sounds really intense.
It is awesome. I'll have to send you some YouTube links because people put the GoPros on their helmets, right? And they start all the way up there at the turn 14 and they essentially release them. And it's just one big wheel race of everybody down the hill through 14, 15, 16, and 17 through Hogpen. It is a blast. It is a ton of fun out there. So if you guys are looking for some alternate activities at VIR, definitely look up those big wheel races at Hyperfest. They definitely go on all the time. And this is Cam Bidwell back here, still chasing down Colin Arnold. And actually, Colin's having a really good race. He's up 3 positions from where he started. So nice job to Colin. And just to let everybody know, Colin is kind of one of our Roush family members out here, but he did not get accepted into this series based off of his credentials and knowing us. His iRating, his driving is what got him here into the Pro Series.
Yeah, Colin is definitely very fast, as we can see here tonight. Yeah, it really speaks for itself.
This is back to Rui, chasing down Eddie Layton, and this is a tough spot to be in. You see the 2 cars right in front of Eddie, so That black car has the benefit of the slipstream. He's kind of getting pulled along as well, and a little bit deep into turn number 1 for both of these trail cars in this kind of train right here. It is Robbie Swan in that light blue, kind of that robin's egg blue color. Charles in the number 100, Eddie Layton in that black car, and then Rui Pinto in that white, orange, and black car. This is a fantastic 4-car battle for 14th.
So one of the interesting things about this track is that there really is no rest. There are some straightaways, but if you have other cars around you, there's no time that you can relax here for sure. And man, I can't believe it's only been a little over 25 minutes. It feels like we've been here for a few hours with how intense this action is.
Well, admittedly, you know, things have kind of stretched out a little bit at the front. You know, that's kind of why we're looking back here in the mid-pack. But this is where the racing is going on right now. And so if you are racing in a battle, we are showing you on the screen and more of this elevation here at VIR. And maybe something else to note, we haven't touched on the cars and kind of the platform too much here. But at VIR, these GTP cars, they're using all of the curbs. They're using exit apex. They're using everything available to them. And a few years ago, I should say more like a handful of years ago, they came and repaved VIR. They added a lot of this exit runoff, and iRacing went through and updated. Also, this is an updated active scan of VIR, but it's also great to see that these drivers, this is an open setup series. They've tuned these cars to be able to drive over those curbs. It is an uneven aero platform when you jump over them. So really nice job to both iRacing and the competitors to come out here with a good, solid setup.
And as you know, Joey, it's very critical, you know, nailing your setup. Without that, you're really going to struggle. And in this series, because we have it as an open setup, you know, it's up to the drivers to really tune that for themselves.
And this is a pass here. This is Milan Harris going by John Marshbanks, and unfortunately, I can tell you, Jack, Colin Arnold had a problem in Oak Tree this lap. We're going to get this podium replay. This is classic. You've seen it a million times, just taking too much speed into the first corner and can't get the thing slowed down.
Very easy to do. That's a very, very tough corner to maximize your speed. You know, he was trying to get all he could out of it, which is exactly what his job is as a race car driver, and, you know, it doesn't always pan out.
I don't know if you guys noticed that rear clip kind of falling off halfway down the back straightaway. It was kind of amusing to kind of see it just falling off the back end of the car. But I want to give credit to Colin Arnold, not just because of the race that he's had, but he also realized that he had damage on the back end of that car, and about 3/4 of the way down the straightaway, he actually pulled it off, completely off the racetrack, so he didn't affect anybody behind him. Very nicely done, Colin Arnold. And this one, my heart goes out to this driver right here, the driver of the 066. Now, we're completely unbiased in kind of our fandom over here, but I do feel like Blake was kind of hard done back at Sebring, and then he was definitely hard done here. This is one of our fastest drivers, one of our championship contenders, and unfortunately, he finds himself all the way back here in 20th place. Check back in on this battle. And actually, you know what? While we've been showing these guys, there's a couple big names that I kind of want to highlight because of how far they've gone up through the field. Primarily, our biggest mover, the number 998 of Caleb Patry out here. Jack, Caleb started all the way back in 26th place. He has gone up 17 positions. He's currently sitting inside the top 10 in 9th.
Yeah, that's really impressive. What a great job.
Another two names that are kind of on this list a little bit further back that we haven't mentioned actually at all. The number 171 of Jeff Evans. He's sitting in 17th, but he's gone up 6 positions. So he started back there in 23rd, currently sitting in the 17th spot. And then also the car directly behind him, Steven Sharik, up 7 positions, started back in 25th and up into the 18th spot now. So a couple of these cars and drivers a little bit further back in the field, having some really nice days, just kind of moving their way forward. And I can tell everybody, I'm looking through timing and scoring. Oh, as we get a move, I believe this is Lance Loomis trying to sneak up the inside of John Marshbanks, but he hangs tough in that white and purple machine. What I was going to say is, out of the 27 cars we had take the race here, we've only had 3 retirements so far.
Yeah, overall, it's been a very clean race. I really haven't seen any significant contact.
So this is that battle between Lance Loomis and John Marshbanks. This is for 11th right here, and if we remember, John has just kind of unfortunately fallen through the field a little bit. He got the benefit of having that grid invert at the beginning of the race, and then just through some hardships and some other cars has done a terrific job to really kind of hang tough. This is the worst position to be in as a racing driver, knowing that there's so many fast cars just kind of breathing down your neck, and you just have to stay perfect. And I gotta give a tip of the cap to Marshbanks. I think he's done a really good job today.
Yeah, he sure has. And it's coming down to the line here, final lap. I don't know. What do you think, Joey? Are you willing to make a bet? What's going to happen here?
Ooh, am I willing to make a bet? No,
not an actual bet, but
because whenever I do something like that, these sim racers, they always prove me wrong, Jack. So no, I will not take that bet.
Okay.
But you're right, this is the last lap, right? So Max Muir, the car on your screen, has already crossed start-finish line, took that white flag from Barney. Let's compare fast laps out here. Holy smokes, Max Muir at a 130.5. I'm looking through the rest of the field. I don't see another car in terms of a race pace doing a minute 30. The rest are in the minute 31s. Jordan Johnson at a 131.0. So it really has been a story of this number 11 car. Once Max Muir got out front, he has just been unstoppable. Just has a couple corners remain. Doesn't even have to pass this car right in front of him of Michael Johnson, the purple people eater right in front of him. Just got to cruise up the start-finish line, and Max Muir, your winner from Sebring, goes back-to-back with another win at VIR. This is your second place finisher, Pat Pelchat. Started way up there, had a fantastic run all throughout the day. The number 919 comes home in second, and Jordan Johnson stands on the podium, does not get that main feature win that is so elusive to that number 112 car, but is on the podium. Brandon Hawken finishes in fourth. Christian Youngwall holds off a late charging Alex Ellis to be in that fifth place. And this is that 73 car. This is Eddie Layton chasing Charles Hazia. It looks like he's not going to be able to get up there. So we're going to watch the rest of these cars come around and take this checkered flag. Well, what we are going to do, stick around, folks. We're going to take a really, really fast break, but then be right back with the official results and the post-race interview. So stick around.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It was a story of the number 11 car, Max Muir, with a crazy hole shot to get him up the inside to really take advantage of track position. And then once he was in clean air, there was no stopping him, claiming his second win back-to-back main feature wins for that number 11. Pat Pelchat, fantastic drive. He was your pole sitter, right? He took advantage of that track position, that top 8 grid invert, and he comes home in second, the first podium for Mr. Pelchat. So great job, great driving out there. Jordan Johnson comes home third. Not really too surprised to see him work his way up through the order. Brandon Hawken in fourth, recovers nicely after having a little bit of a busy race. Christian Youngwall, this is a really good points day for that number 199. Alex Ellis, probably another race that he wants to have back after that early mistake there in turn number 3. He comes home to finish 6th. Ray Kingsbury in 7th. LT Gray finishes 8th after a little bit of an up and down day. Caleb Patry in 9th. Milan Harris rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, we have John Marshbanks. 12th, Lance Loomis. 13th, Charles Hosea. 14th, Eddie Layton. 15th, Robbie Swan. 16th, Rui Pinto. 17th, Jeff Evans. In 18th, Stephen Sharik. 19th, Will Chen. And in 20th, Blake Reynolds.
Then across the page, we've got Cody Crosgrove a lap down here. Michael Johnson, another lap down. And then, unfortunately, Peachy Campos a few laps down. Colin Arnold back here. We kind of documented that rear clip falling off after the problems in Oak Tree. Finishes 24th. Trent McMillian back here 25th. Nikhil Kopkar, after putting up a valiant fight right there in the middle of the race, unfortunately does not finish tonight's race. Same thing with Rowley, a whole bunch of laps down there, but 27 cars is what we had racing around VIR here. And looks like we're going to be kind of waiting just a minute here to see if we get Max Muir, our winner, inside for a little bit of an interview. I see Jordan and Pat already lined up for some interviews. So, Jack, I want to come to you real quick here. What did you kind of think of the night? I thought that we had a much cleaner race than what we've seen out of the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, it sure was. You know, I think some of the policies that we put in place for this race, you know, really trying to keep a close eye on, you know, the first laps, you know, making sure that people weren't having contact. You know, I think that has definitely helped.
Sometimes you just need somebody looking over your shoulder, kind of like the principal at recess time, making sure that everybody is kind of playing in line out there. But you're right. I think that everybody cleaned it up here for VIR. It was really, really awesome to see. And actually, let's go ahead. Let's bring in Jordan Johnson. I don't see Max Muir in here yet, so got the driver of the number 112 finishing 3rd in this main feature race. I gotta ask you, Jordan, what is it gonna take to get that elusive victory in the big race, not the sprint race, but this 35-minute one?
It seems a bit of luck. It's 3rd race I picked up damage, and this one was before turn 1 even came in. I picked up quite a bit of rear damage getting hit and under braking there, and then I think lap 7 I went for a dive and got a lot of left side damage. So pace wasn't there, but I mean, to be honest, it wasn't there today at all. Max had some crazy pace, and there was no chance of me beating him. Just being in front for the sprint race and limiting some damage. I'm really, really happy with that. I think P2 could have been on the cards had I had a little better luck at the start, but I've really started to kind of transition in the championship mode, not taking unnecessary risks, which in turn one here is already really, really tricky.
You know, I was kind of wondering about that, especially since you had such a good finish winning the sprint again here today. You kind of built that points gap, that little bit of a buffer. But since you had such a good race with Max in the sprint, why don't we talk about that? And were you sweating after that one? He shoved it up the inside there in 5 that one lap, but you were able to defend it. You left plenty of room. I thought it was great racing. Were you worried about him stealing it at the end?
I think truthfully, I was just eyes forward. I know here it's very, very, very hard to get an overtake unless there's a mistake. But my rears were fading really, really fast. I ran an extremely aggressive setup that I kind of built last second in the practice before the race after seeing Max's pace. So it worked for qualifying and it worked for the sprint. So I just kind of had to just do my best to hold it together. Especially where I was getting, where Max was getting close to me, I knew I could defend quite well if I just kept my momentum. So it was stressful, but it was more of just consolidating what I had rather than trying to force something that wasn't there.
I think that's smart. That's really smart, especially given in your championship kind of points position. And let's talk about next week, right? Because that's when it really all comes to an end. Watkins Glen, relatively narrow. You got the guardrail. Sebring, pretty wide. VIR, we started to narrow it down, but we go to Road Atlanta, which is probably the most narrow racetrack that we go to out of this entire schedule. You were talking about the danger of turn 1 here. Are you going to kind of have that same mindset going into Atlanta, or do you just want to be in front of the mess?
I think I just want to make it through the pack alive. We've seen a lot of incidents take. I think every single driver so far, as outside of Max, has had some kind of incident that's really harmed their championship. So make it through turn 1 first, and I think I have a good chance for the rest of the race. My pace has been good qualifying. I think we're on a perfect streak for poles right now, so fingers crossed. Let's try to keep that up. Probably going to be putting more practice in than ever because next week is a really challenging one with Road Atlanta. Bumps are crazy. You catch one curb wrong and your race is over. So I need to be well prepared for that for sure.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming out here and racing with us every single week with the ROUSH Pro Series. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course, my team, Apex Racing Academy, and of course our senior team, Apex Racing Team. They've given me tons of help. I've improved massively with the GTPs, and of course all of our sponsors and partners, SDK, VRS, Stormforce Gaming, and St. Peter's Computer Systems. They've just been massive helps to make sure that we can focus up on the racing and just kind of put our nose to the grindstone, finish it out strong.
Well, awesome job out there. One of our fastest drivers, that was Jordan Johnson, winning the sprint race and then finishing 3rd in the main feature. And we're actually going to bring in, so Jack has wandered down pit lane. He is actually going to interview Pat Pelchat, who's standing by with him, finishing 2nd today.
Hey, Pat. How's your race, man?
It was good, honestly. The car was on rails. I made a mistake in the sprint, and it cost me very, very hard. I was kind of happy when I came back on track and saw that I was P8, so I kind of held for that and starting on pole for the feature. So that was pretty okay. And then Max came like a rocket ship. I let him by. No point fighting him, and he got a win. Congrats to him, by the way. But I'm pretty happy with the result today.
Oh, yeah. Great job. What do you think of VIR? Do you like this place?
Honestly, it's my first... I think it's my first race here in like probably 3 years. So, yeah, I don't really know that track that well. So I really got into sim this afternoon, started running laps and getting this setup together, and it really clicked.
Oh, very cool. Well, again, great job out there. Is there anyone that you'd like to call out?
Well, I think the whole PRE team, we're pushing very hard this GTP, and it's working very well for us right now. So we're really looking forward to more good results, and to you guys. I think this series it's great. And I really enjoy what you guys have done, and I really hope this format and this kind of league comes back in the future.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Pat, and thank you very much for being part of it. It was great watching you race today.
Oh, thank you, guys.
That was Pat Pelchat, driver of the 919, and that was actually a fantastic points day for Pat. He was inside of the top 10 coming into today, and that should boost him up quite a bit. But this is a look at what we are going to be racing next week, right? March 20th, Road Atlanta, one of the classic North American sports car endurance tracks. Tons of great racing has come from this place. We were talking about the red Georgia clay, just referencing it earlier, one of my favorite racetracks, although I do like VIR maybe a little bit better. Jack, what do you think going into there? We've got so much experience around Atlanta.
Hey, as you know, Joey, this is another very difficult track. Tons of elevation here, like massive. It always makes for a great show.
I think one of the big things about Atlanta, too, right before we hop off, is there's quite a few funnels, right? It's not necessarily a 2-wide or 3-wide racetrack. Going up into turn 3, it's a huge funnel. Going down the S's, it's a huge funnel. And even going into 10A, 10B on the back straightaway there. So these drivers, they're not only going to have to bring their game in terms of being the fastest, but they better keep their eyes up, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can get in a lot of trouble here.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has joined us tonight, and thanks to Roush Performance for all of their support, as well as our amazing partners for the event, RFK Racing. Remember, go follow along that number 6 and that number 17 car, especially after the momentum they just had at Phoenix, VRS, and Podium Esports. This wouldn't be possible without our team behind the scenes as well today. Jack, Trevor, and Ryan. Let's throw JP in there because he's always keeping me amused too. And remember to follow along on the Roush Performance Esports Discord and Facebook pages to stay up to date with all of our future events and series. Next week will be the final round of the Pro Series, so make sure to come back right here 1 week from today, March 20th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, the same time, to see who is crowned champion and who takes home all of that cold, hard cash. Until next time, I'll see you at the checkered flag.